Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a woman to society.
And so shall you be.
Hey everybody, this is Lisa Landry. Welcome to Menace to Society. I have the honor today of speaking to somebody in New York City who is quite a delightful,
Oh my God.
how do you say it? Actress, sketch performer, mom, activist, artist, Hollie Harper. Thanks so much for joining us, Hollie.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's so good to talk to somebody in New York. You know, I was there for a very long time. I left 9 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm so moved by your posts on Facebook because it seems
Oh,
like
thank you.
yeah, thank you for sharing what you're going through in New York City. Some of your posts are amazingly compassionate and humorous, and it's hard raising two kids in New York City, I would think.
It is. It is. And it's funny because I grew up in Philadelphia till I was about 9 and then moved to South Jersey. So it's like half city, half, suburbs.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like I know how to raise them a little bit until about 9. And now my daughter's 10, so I'm kind of on my own. You know what I mean? I have a husband. He was born and raised here in New York. But it's, like major cities were a lot rougher when we were kids than now. So we're still living like them. We're like, no, you can't go anywhere. No, stay right here. And so my daughter's becoming a tween. She's 10, so I'm trying to figure out how much I can let her do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you remember when you're little and your parents let you start becoming a little more independent. So I'm wrestling with that right now.
That autonomy she's trying to throw down, huh?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, when can they go to the store by themselves? When can they take out the garbage? When can I take the subway? It's all very kind of weird, and we're just kind of feeling our way through it.
It's difficult. It's like statistically, you're right. You're safer there in New York City than most major cities, and a lot of times small towns.
Yeah, because I grew up in South Jersey from 10 until 16, and then I went away to boarding school. But in my small town, there was shady stuff that happened, but people have a false sense of safety because they don't see as many people. But in New York, people are so on guard that it actually sometimes is safer.
What was boarding school like? I didn't know you went to boarding school.
Yeah, I went to a Quaker boarding school called the George School, and honestly, it changed my life. It was like one of the best experiences of my whole life. I went sophomore, junior, and senior year, and it was funny. I had to repeat my sophomore year at the George School because even though I had good grades, academically, they were just so much further ahead than my high school. And then I found out when I got there that half the incoming sophomores, they repeat their sophomore year when they come in.
That's mind blowing.
It is. So I always see myself as like a year behind. Like people, you know what I mean? Like people say, like, I graduate this class of blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, not me.
I got extra. You got extra learning.
I got extra education, yeah. But it's funny. My daughter really wants to go, but I don't know if I'll let her go because now from experience, when your kids go away to boarding school, that's it. They'll never live home ever again. And so you're kind of letting go at 14 or 15 years old, and I don't think I could do that. I love my kids too much. Not that people don't love their kids, but I'm just attached. Like I have to hold them every day. I'm just like that.
I noticed your hashtag. I'm that mom.
Yeah, I am because very often sometimes I'm like, my daughter would just be like, oh my God, you're that mom, you're so extra, like stop. And I'm like, yes, I am. Like she's on a debate team and they're going up to Harvard for a debate in February. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be the debate coach and 4 girls. I was like, and who? Like, I'm thinking that there's going to be like some chaperones. I was like, yeah, I could do it. She's like, no, it's just a coach. And he's a guy and he's a good guy and everything. But I'm like, some man ain't taking you and 3 other girls to Harvard without me. Word. And she's like, you can't come. And I'm like, who is going to stop me? Like, who is that person? So now she's all mad because we're going to be riding in the car behind the van going up there. She's so mad.
She's embarrassed.
She is. I'm like, girl, you can just go cry in a bag of safety because no.
That's good though. It seems like a lot of parents just trust. Like, oh, it'll be okay. They're going to be there for the weekend. Nothing bad's going to happen. They're going to be academically superior after this experience. But common sense would dictate no.
Yeah, and the thing is, to tell you the honest truth, I don't know why all of a sudden parents, it's like adults like lose their mind, like they forget their childhood. I mean, if you really think back, most women, I don't know about guys, I don't have that experience, but most women have had skeevy things happen to them
Yeah.
before they were 18, before they graduated high school. And like sometimes I look back on it and like, okay, so like my parents, they're baby boomers. And I'm like Generation X, but like, so baby boomers, they grew up in the 40s and 50s and it was a different world. So I think that they were raising us in the 70s and 80s. They were thinking back to their safe childhoods and actually trusted us in the world a lot more than they should have. Whereas we were raised in cities when it was the roughest in 70s and 80s. So now here we are, we're like, oh, hell no. Like, I remember. So when I see parents are just like, yeah, sure, it's fine. I'm like, why would you think that? Like, why would you do that?
Do you think some of it's selfish? Like, I've noticed, I'm Gen X too. And I've noticed a lot of these millennials, I have friends in their early 20s, and God bless them, they're great people, but it feels like they've been raised by Urban Dictionary and Wikipedia.
Yeah, I feel like you mean in terms of just being online all the time?
Online and like without parenting. It seems like our generation, like you're a hyper-connected mother, which I respect. I'm the same way. At least I try to be. Sometimes I'm blocked in that circumstance. But it seems like a lot of parents our age and maybe a little bit older just let their kids raise themselves because they were trying to get a new relationship going after their divorce, or they were impacted by the economy, so they're like, screw it.
Yeah, I think that, it's funny because I know I'll probably get like, not hate mail, but it's like, I feel like a lot of adults, we try too hard to be cool for too long. Like, we don't want to be adults.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, like, you can be an adult and still be hot. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be an adult and still be cool. But I'm my daughter's friend, but I'm her mom first and foremost. So I'm going to tell her things that she's going to be mad at me. She's going to walk around the house with a screw face, but whatever. She'll be fine. And I feel like I feel like everybody's trying to be 28. Like, I feel like teenagers are trying to be 28, and people who are 30s or 40s are trying to be 28. Everybody's trying to look like they're 28 years old or live like they're 28, and you're not.
I agree with you completely. I don't know. I don't want to get like racialist and stuff, but I think in white culture, white society, it's even more encouraged to be youthful.
I mean, I have friends of all races, and I've seen black moms too who were just kind of like, girl, I got things to do. You know what I mean? Like, or yeah, this new boyfriend, or or we're going out, and I'm like, and that's fine. Like, go out, have a great time, and we could do everything you want to do, but I feel like people need to remember, like, your kids are growing up right now.
Yeah.
Like, right now, you have one bite at the apple. You don't mess it up. Most moms I know, the ones who are in the burbs, they don't get out enough. Whereas sometimes moms in the city have too much pressure to go out because we have if you live in a major city, you might have a lot of friends that don't have kids at all.
Yeah.
So you're trying to hang with them, and you get to a certain point where you're like, no, it's 10 o'clock. I got to go home. Like, my kids should have been in bed 2 hours ago. Like, it's over.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that if they don't have kids. Like, I lived in New York when my child was born, and at the time, I think it was me and Lori Kilmartin had new babies, and she's a stand-up comedian.
Oh, yeah, she's hilarious.
Yeah, she's very funny. And our kids were born like around a month apart. And it seemed like we were the only ones who were new parents who were women for a chunk of time.
It's weird when you're in comedy or in the entertainment industry, period, but especially in comedy, people ask you questions like, where are your kids? Like, I'll be at rehearsal or a show. Where are your kids? I'm like, at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just have this image like, why are you here?
Completely. I heard that month after month after month after my son was born. Like, why are you working tonight? Who's taking care of the baby? It's like, well, there's two of us, and I have bills.
Word.
Right?
And you're still you. And you're still you.
You're still you, but you're not supposed to be you. Now you're a mom, so you're not supposed to have this career or this creative urge to express yourself. You're supposed to just be home with your baby's mouth on your boob.
Yeah. And it's crazy because even within that, it's like a weird experience. Like, how people even think you should be a mom. Like, I was telling somebody today about when my daughter was born, a nurse gave her a bottle in the hospital, which I strictly said don't do. And so she refused to nurse after the first day. Like, and I kept trying and trying and trying, and finally I had to give up and give her a bottle. Well, I pumped. I became a pumper. And so, like, a month in, I had to get my hair done. I was at a braid shop. I'm getting my braids done. And one of the men who owned the salon was like, I pumped. I put a sheet over me and I pumped. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm pumping milk for my baby. He was like, why don't you just feed her? And I'm like, why don't you get a freaking uterus and then we can have a conversation? Like, you don't, but like, this is the A and B. You're like, why? Like, get out. You have nothing to do with anything. You don't have a vagina. You only have one set of lips. Goodbye. Sit down. You're out.
You probably haven't even been near one in a month or two.
Word. Like, So I'm sure you've seen that, how people think even how you're supposed to be a mom. Like, that's even judged.
Well, especially in New York City. If you're walking around with a child in a stroller or in your arms or on one of carriers, you will get advice every other block.
Yeah. I'll give people advice, but they ask me. I'm not going to just give people advice. Well, that's not true. I do tell, that's sort of true. I do tell, like, first-time moms, I do tell them when you're going in to give birth, like, have your birth plan, like, seriously. Have it, go through Lamaze, like, because, you can get bullied in the hospital. You can get very bullied.
Yes.
And you can get bullied by family members. You know what I mean? So, like, you need to have your stuff. You need to be strong. You need to be strong.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough because they will start beating you down.
Word. And hospitals are no joke. Like, they have their agenda, and they're great. They save your life. They deliver your baby. But they're also on schedules, and they go on vacations and lunch breaks, and they have their own problems. They're real people, too. So it's like, you got to just remember what you want.
That's very deep.
Oh, thank you.
Life advice from Hollie Harper. It's good advice. Now let's talk about your comedy sketch troupe, American Candy.
Yes.
The Chicago Sketch Comedy Festival is a really big deal. Yeah,
I'm really, really excited. And it's crazy because I've entered us into two other festivals before, and we didn't get in. And now looking back, I'm like, because we didn't have good enough video. Like, I don't think the video was good. And then we were like, oh, let's just try this. And it totally worked. And so I'm just really happy. And it's crazy because I went to college in Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to college in Chicago, and I have not been back since then. It's been like a good 142 years since I've been back. I might see Abraham Lincoln. It's just me and him.
The L still doesn't work properly, so.
I'm sure it doesn't. But I remember when I was there, although, what's crazy, though? I remember the L being more reliable than the New York City subway. I do remember that.
Now the subway is kind of messed up, too, isn't it?
Oh, the subway is horrible. Somebody pulled a cord on 125th Street yesterday morning, and my husband was stuck on a train for almost an hour in between two tunnels.
Oh, good Lord.
I was just like, what? People don't realize, like, pulling the cord when you're sick is horrible. Like, you're just like, what ambulance is going to come through the tunnel? Like, how are they going to get you? Like, what's going to happen now?
Do you remember, I don't know if it was true or not, but I remember when I lived in New York, there was probably an urban myth about someone dying on the subway and nobody notifying authorities because they didn't want to stop the morning rush hour commute. So
that happened.
This dead person just was on the train all morning, the course.
Yeah, that happened. That totally happened. And to tell you the honest truth, I could totally see how that happened. Like, people get in the zone, you know what I mean? People get in the zone, and they're just like, especially remember the housing market, like when the crisis, and then like people were losing their jobs like 10 years ago. People were like not messing with that income. Like, they were just like, I have to get where I'm going. But I've been on the subway, and one time this dude was nauseous and somebody was going to pull the cord, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I just stood up, and I had my daughter in the stroller. I was like, don't do it. I was like, just get to the next station and have the clerk call 911. Like, don't do that. And everyone was just like looking at me like I'm crazy, but they were happy. Like, they were happy I said something. But of course, nobody said thank you. But I was like, you're welcome, y'all. You're welcome.
That's the biggest thing I miss about living in New York City. You can just do you, and if it's the best for everybody involved in the situation, people will just give you that eye, like, thank you, and be about their business. But if you pull that in LA, people look at you like, what is wrong with you for speaking out?
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, New York is the only city that I've ever been in, really, where situations like that happen on a daily basis, and people brush it off of, like, you don't take it personally. Like, like, oh, that's just a New York moment, and that woman was right. We're all in this together.
It's funny. I've lived in Chicago, and I've lived in Baltimore, and Philadelphia, and New York. And each city has, like, their thing. But I have to admit, in New York, people are just kind of like, oh, okay. All right. Sure.
Nobody takes anything personally in New York. They're like, I got to hustle. I'm 5 minutes late.
So I've lived in Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, and New York. And New York is the only place where people are just like, oh, okay. Like, they just like, Like, in New York, people will just leave, like, right in the middle of the conversation. Like, they'll look at their phone, see the time, just be like, I gotta be out. And you're like, okay.
Right.
People don't take offense. But, man, like, the smaller the town you get to, goodbyes take, like, 5 minutes. Like, it's like stages of goodbyes, and people do goodbye tours, and they hug everybody, and and then they talk about when they're going to talk next. Like, no.
This conversation was done an hour ago, please. It's weird, and people take things very, very personally.
Yeah, they totally do. It's funny, even when I went to school in Chicago, what really surprised me, and I didn't realize, is how many people from Chicago are from the South.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people from the South. So they really are very Southern. Very Southern. I used to, like, make mistakes all the time. Like, people would be like, oh, those are cute tennis shoes. And I'd be like, tennis shoes? These are sneakers. They'd be like, sneakers? Like, they thought that was hilarious, that word sneakers. I'm like, that's the East Coast. That's the East Coast. People say sneakers. Or they say, you want to go to the cinema. Not the movies.
Right.
I'm like, the cinema? We're going to see Rudolph Valentino and Clara Bow? Like, we're going to see a silent film? Like, hello. It better be black and white if you're going to the cinema.
It's a matinee.
It's a matinee. It's a silent matinee. But I do love that about New York. New York actually has matinees for moms with babies who scream and cry. We'll just be all moms. That is awesome.
That is awesome. You have 2 kids. You have Luna and Rozzy.
Yes, they are bananas.
And Luna is 10, which you've mentioned.
Yes.
And she's on debate team, which is wonderful. And probably a curse at the same time, because she's learning how to actively argue intelligently.
Yes, it is difficult sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, she pulled out some term the other day, and I had to look it up. And I was like, I remember hearing that during debate. What is that? It was a false equivalency. And I was like, this chick is trying to outsmart me. Like, what? And then I realized, like, don't be mad at your daughter for being smart. You know what I mean? At first, like, oh, she's trying to be cute, trying to pull out words. And I'm like, girl, you are in your 40s. You could learn words too. Like, so I'm like looking stuff up. But it's really amazing. The debate team, I've been really learning about the different lines of debates and arguments, like circular arguments and false equivalencies, and like she was doing Oppo research on something the other day. I was like, you're 10.
Oh my
You're doing
gosh.
Oppo research. I was like, what?
Luna is training to be a pundit.
She is training to be a pundit. And it's crazy that she's just like, I want to be a singer-songwriter. And I'm like, don't waste your life. Like, don't do it. It's crazy. Like, I'm an artist, but I have to admit, I do not encourage children to grow up and be artists unless they absolutely are dying to do it. Because you have to really, really love this to be successful. You have to really love it from your core. It can't just be a hobby. You have to love it.
That's absolutely true. Speaking of love, your posts have a lot of love in them, and it feels
thank you.
Yeah, they're very moving. They're very funny. Some of them are very poignant. It feels like there's a lot of heart missing these days in our industry, and entertainment and stand-up comedy and sketch comedy. Things have gotten so competitive, which have always been, but we don't have an HR department. We do have a lot of sociopaths. We have a lot of damaged individuals who are projecting, and they will come out with their knives out of jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually, I've had this experience. I've actually helped people get gigs so that they can pay their rent. And then they turn on me 2 years later over something I have not even a part of. They're just PO'd that I'm getting something that they think that they don't have. I'm sure you've experienced that too.
Oh God, yes. The industry, just like every other industry, but I think even more so in the entertainment industry, has a lot of wonderful people, talented people, and also damaged people. I think sometimes to have a creative spirit, you have to be an open person. I find the best artists are people who maybe their heart sometimes is a little too open, but I think that's where the creative flow comes through. I think the creative spirit, the voice flows through that thing that is sometimes too open. So a lot of times you have artists that have had kind of hairy childhoods. And when I say childhood, I mean anything up to 30, like dead serious. Because, when you come to New York or you graduate school and you're trying to figure out who you are, that's like a whole nother growing up. Like it really is like a whole another coming of age story. And so I feel like there's a lot of people in the industry who kind of forget that you have to have a life. You have to have a life. You have to have love. You have to have friends. And I think that we're so dogged sometimes to get ahead that we forget that we're not supposed to screw people over when these people you want to be with when you're on top. Like if you get to the top or whatever your top is, even if it's the middle, wherever it is, you're going to need people around you. And so I've seen people make serious mistakes in screwing over their friends, not realizing they screw over those friends, those people who love them when they have almost nothing. And then they get on and all of a sudden they're like, I'm surrounded by people who just want things from me. Well, yeah, because you ditched your friends.
Yeah.
So now you just have people that just want to use you. And you may think they're your friends, but don't do that. They may be your friends, but they may not be, So I just find that, I'll never forget I had an epiphany 11 years ago, 12 years ago, and I was at my gynecologist, and she was like, do you want to have kids? And I was like, I do. And, she's like, you've been married for at least 5 years. I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, don't forget, you can always make money, but you can't always make babies. You have to have a life. You have to live your life. Don't wait for something to do something, because tomorrow is not promised. You have to just go after it right now. So you having a baby and raising a beautiful child is just as successful as you getting on some television show, because these are things that happen in your life and give you immense joy.
Yeah, I think a lot of us lose track of that because you're caught up in the hustle and you're just wondering what's going to come next and trying to make it happen, and a lot of your life goes by.
Yeah, don't wait till you have everything to have children. Have children and show them how it's done. Show children how to climb, how to struggle, how to succeed, how to persevere. I started American Candy. My daughter was a little over a year old. She was almost a year and a half. I was bringing her rehearsals, changing her diapers, right in the middle of rehearsal. And then I had another baby, 5 years ago. We've had American Candy for 8 years. And so Luna is at the point now, she's in the sixth grade. Wow, she's in the sixth grade. She's on the debate team. But she knows my rehearsal process. She helps me put scripts together. She helps me edit things. She knows how to do scheduling. You know what I mean? She knows how to book venues. Just from watching me, she knows how to hustle because she's seen Mama do it.
Right. And after all this debate practice, she's on target to become a lawyer. So now she can be your entertainment attorney.
Word. I should have her looking at my contracts. I really should. Think about it. How much do 10-year-olds have to focus on? They don't. I mean, she doesn't even have a mailbox to check. Like, come on now. We got passwords, and she's got one password to Musical.ly. That karaoke app.
That's adorable.
Yeah, that's the only password she has to remember.
That's awesome. She's got a lot of headspace. Then you can fill her up with all those legal terms from Mama's venues.
Word. I really should, because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I read it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you did not read this. Because you need to read everything. Read the whole thing, girl.
The fine print. Concentrate on the small stuff at the bottom.
Word. That's where they sneak stuff in.
Now, what is it like to raise Rozzy? Because I know that he's got some special needs that a lot of kids don't have to deal with.
I know, yes. Rozzy is on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed as high-functioning autistic, although I had a mom with a son on the spectrum told me that term is offensive. I did not know that. But that's what I was taught at the Center for Autism in White Plains, New York. We started seeing when he was about a year and a half, 2, that we'd be talking to him and he would not even be looking at us. And it was strange because he was making full-on contact up until then, babbling, everything. So it came right around then, and we were like, what is going on? And it took us, we had to go through 3 evaluations to get the diagnosis of him, that he's on the spectrum, exactly where on the spectrum he is and everything. And it was really hairy at first because, you know, when you have kids, you just want your kid to be perfect. You know, you just want your kid to have everything other kids have. And, you know, he's a wonderful kid. He's smart as hell. Actually, it kind of freaks me out. We got him in speech therapy. And the thing was, we had to go through 3 evaluations because we had an evaluation from the city. They were like, we don't know what's wrong. We took him for the Center of Autism. They were like, he's autistic. You have to give this diagnosis to the city to get services. And then we went to the city, and they're like, we got to do our own diagnosis evaluation. So I was like, oh my God. So we had to go through the 3rd time. But you need that to get services. And you can get speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. So he's doing really well. He's in a specialized program in an amazing charter school in Harlem. And it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. I really encourage parents who, if they see something, don't just pass it off as they'll grow out of it or whatever. Like, look at it. Have it looked at.
I applaud y'all for doing that, because too many parents, just like you're saying, are like, oh, it's a phase. He'll grow out of it. I don't know. He'll stop doing it when he's ready. And that's the worst attitude you can take. If something
it really is.
You know, you'll have to get it checked out. I'm sorry they made you jump around through hoops, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but you know, it's funny. I talk to parents of kids on the spectrum, and they've had it worse. Like, I have a friend of mine, a mom, her son's on the spectrum, and he's like 17. So what she had to go through 15 years ago with him, she's like, girl, you don't even know. Like, 15 years ago, a lot of people didn't even know what autism is. Like, they didn't even know what you're talking about.
I can't even imagine. Plus, they didn't even have Google. You couldn't just Google to try to find somebody who knew what the heck was going on outside your circle.
Yeah. Yes, think about it. You couldn't even go on the internet. That's scary. To me, that's frightening. That is frightening. But so they had to jump through hoops, like serious hoops. So I really owe, gratitude, a lot of thank you to parents who came before us with kids on the spectrum, because they have really fought that good fight for people like my husband and I. But let me tell you, one thing that dismayed me was I found out that, racially, there is disparities between white and black children and how autism is handled. Like, the average child that is white who's diagnosed with autism that is around 2 or 3 years old. But within black families, it's like 7, 8, and 9. And I think that is because of black people's history in this country with the medical industry. We don't trust them. We don't trust doctors. You know, we've been practiced on a little bit too much. Even though medicine is a wonderful thing and science is an amazingly wonderful thing, you should always avail yourself of. You know, there's a Tuskegee study, and there's what was that woman? It was not polio, cancer. That had a movie.
Oh, Henrietta.
Yes, Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah. So
it's like, you know, we have been used and abused for things. I mean, modern gynecology would not exist had it not be for them practicing on hundreds of slave women. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how modern gynecology was formed, was practicing with no anesthesia, no consent, nothing on slave women. So a lot of times black families don't seek out medical help for children on the spectrum, and so it puts them at a deficit when they go into school, because they just get pushed into special ed, right. You know, and a lot of times, you know, they're not getting the exact program they need, and then they're labeled as naughty or bad.
Yeah, behavioral
difficult.
Problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was just not going to do that. So when I was looking for kindergarten for my son, we were only looking at programs that were specialized for high-functioning autistic kids. And my son goes to school in Harlem on 145th Street, and we wake up every morning at 5 a.m., and we leave at 6. He has to be at school at 7:20, and we do it, and we're happy to do it because it's an amazing program.
It's an amazing thing you're doing for your son. A lot of parents wouldn't do that kind of stuff, you know, getting up every morning to get someone across town.
Yeah, well, you know, it's fine. I see a lot that do and a lot that don't. And I'm always kind of amazed because I'm like, this is your kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, who is going to do it if it's not you? So my parents were really good to me and really good to my brothers and sisters. And so I owe it to the next generation. They have to be treated like royalty. And when I mean royalty, not like I sprinkle flowers before they walk, but everything has to be, like considered. They have to be treated like they are special, and their souls and their minds and their bodies are of the utmost importance.
So many people just don't parent their kids. So many people don't get involved with their kids' friends. And, we have that.
That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do.
And we have that stigma as performers, as selfish, narcissistic people, which not true.
No, it's not true. I think that to be a performer, you have to constantly be aware of other people, constantly be aware of their feelings, their times, their schedules. I mean, Jesus, just with American Candy for the past 8 years, we have a show. It'll be like in between 10 and 15 actors with like between like 8 and 10 sketches a show. And I have to take in every single person's schedule, their strengths and their weaknesses and their talents and everything they can do and what they can't do. And then the writers, I have like 5-6 writers, and then their sketches and who's cast. And I mean, you have to be cognizant of, especially if you want to be a producer, you have to know how to work with people. Like you just have to. I'm constantly amazed by people who say they want to be a producer, or they are producers. They say they're producers, and they have bad social skills. And I'm like, well, your projects will never get off the ground.
Unless you're a dude, and then you can just masturbate on them.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's amazing you said that. I was just thinking about a producer that I worked with years ago who was terrible, and people accepted it like it was fine, but yet they would not accept that from me. Like there was just no way.
There's a definite double standard.
Yeah, I do find from being a writer, director, and a producer that as a woman, very often I meet men who think that I'm just starting out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, I'm sure. Like, I'll never forget when I had my daughter. I had a film in a film festival, and this guy I just met, he worked with this theater company. He was like, yeah, I'm sure you'll do another film someday. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, what are you stupid? Get out of my face. Like, shut up. I was thinking to myself, like, wow, I really liked you till you open your mouth. And now it's like a scale that's just like sliding down.
I've had so many bad experiences with really ignorant dudes. It's mind blowing. Or they'll get that, you meet somebody. I don't know if it's different for sketch comedy, but I remember this guy that I met. I mean, it's happened so many times. He was like, oh, so how long have you been doing this? Where do you perform? Where'd you go? Like, he just wanted to know how much time I have been in this business and why he had to go in front of me on the show. He didn't understand why I was going behind him on the lineup. And
what?
Yeah, but it happens all the time with somebody who you've never met. And then, from my experience anyway, and more regional, like smaller markets. But the next time I met him, I said hello, and he was like, oh, you're so friendly this time. And I was thinking, like, well, the last time we met, you asked me 20,000 questions because your ego was bruised, and then you went over the light because you were trying to come in on my time, and I still went up there and I knocked your dick in the dirt after you, and so you didn't want to talk to me after the show, but this time I'm being nice to you because I'm smiling and saying hello.
Yeah, seriously, why would you be there to make him happy? Like, who is he? Like,
oh, he's got a penis.
Like, yeah, like, I find out, like, you were nice to me or not. Like, who gives a mother F? Like,
right.
I'm not here to make you happy, goddammit.
Yeah, I'm not your fluffer.
I just find that women have to be so much friendlier, or else, like, they're mean, or something's wrong with you.
She's a bitch.
Or you're sad. Yeah, you're a bitch. It's just like, I'm not here for you. I'm not here to make you happy. Like, I feel like a lot of men just have to get out of this mentality that women are here to serve, like either through the physical gaze or through to be friendly or like just ill, like shit. Where men sometimes have the personalities of a staple, of a stapler, and it's just like, dude, I'm not here to make you happy. I've had people, I've been at rehearsal times, and I'm a naturally happy person, and I'm pretty boisterous, but there's the times where I just really want to get down to business, and people are like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Or you're like, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to get down to business.
Right. I want to concentrate on this business, the business of art, so I may get back to the other aspects of my life.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, if you were my friend, I would be speaking to you like we're friends, but we're not friends. I just met you. We're on a show together. That's kind of it. Yeah.
What does getting into the Chicago Sketch Comedy Festival mean for you and American Candy after 8 years of producing this sketch comedy?
Wow. Well, for me, it's really amazing because it just makes my heart explode. It really does. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. I've been working so hard for so long. I started the show the night Michael Jackson died. That was our first show. It was the night Michael Jackson died. It was crazy. And we've done 47 original shows over the 8 years. So that's 47 times I've had the rehearsal process, and 47 casts, and 47 just all new sketches. Like, we rehearse for about 3 weeks and then we have the show, but we're writing for like a month before that. I'm just so honored to be there. I'm so honored to be chosen, and I'm so happy to be coming back to a city. I had a wonderful time in college to be in a festival, to be at a sketch comedy festival. I went to school for acting. I didn't go to school for any kind of comedy. You know, I went to school. I have a bachelor's in fine arts and acting. So for me to come back as something to the left, but still in the same vein, but something that they did not even train me in at all, is absolutely beautiful. Because I have to admit, growing up, I loved sketch comedy, and first I loved it through SNL. And then I got to a point in my early 20s where I was just like, F SNL, because I never really saw black people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, F sketch comedy, because I didn't really see black people, except for In Living Color. Like, In Living Color was like kind of like a shining light, like a beacon of hope, you know? And then that was gone. And there's been sprinklings like Mad TV, but I really haven't seen black people in sketch comedy the way I think. And I definitely have not seen black women in sketch comedy the way I think it could be. And so for me, you know, American Candy is majority, it's predominantly black, but we always have about like a third of the cast is white, because that's the world I live in. You know, I'm a black woman. I'm surrounded by people, but a lot of white people, and then the Latinos and the Asians. And so I live in the world as a black woman, and so it's through my perspective. And I love everybody, but I feel like we don't really get to see that world through the lens of black women very much in comedy, like, if at all. That's why I think one thing, Girls Trip really struck a chord, because it was hilarious. When was the last time you saw black women in a comedy like that? So for me to go to Chicago with American Candy, and 2/3 of the cast are women, you know, the producers are women. You know, we have 5 or 6 producers, like 5 producers, 4 of us are women. I'm really honored, and I just cannot wait, and I'm just so excited.
It's quite something. I agree with everything that you're saying, and I know that Chicago is a huge sketch city, so it's a big deal to get into this festival. How can people help you get there? Because I know y'all have a PayPal set up.
Yes, we do. How you can help is if you go to American Candy on Facebook. We have, there's a PayPal link. And the thing is, what we're doing is we're doing 30 days of candy. We're on day 8. So we're giving you a sketch every single day. Like, every single day, we're showing you one of our sketches that we've, filmed, that we've shot. So you can see why American Candy is special, and why you should give 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks, however much you want to give, because we're going to the festival. It's going to be awesome. They only offer the stage, which is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. But we're coming from New York to Chicago, so we have to have a hotel and food and transportation. I have had family donate their miles for us to have plane tickets. The PayPal link is on it's American Candy, all caps, on Facebook, or you can just go to Hollie Harper. It's Hollie with a Hollie, Harper. It's funny, there's like 9 or 10 Hollie Harpers on Facebook. I'm the only black one, so it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. But so you'll see our videos, you'll see what we do. And so I really hope you can just watch our videos and enjoy and support us in any way, just like you are right now. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this. Thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing, Hollie, and I think your videos are very funny. And I know it's tough, and people listening don't really understand, because they think if you're in show business, you're making tons of money, but you don't make a living, you make a killing. You know, like, yes. You struggle, yes. you struggle, and you hope to get something that will pay you back for all this decade of work you've done for free, or putting out money to rent a venue, and the production value of what you're doing as well goes into all this. So if anybody's listening and they just want to kick in $20 to help Hollie get her troupe to Chicago, it's a great donation, because planes are expensive, hotel rooms are expensive, cost of living, people have to take off from their day jobs to be part of this. Not you, but I'm sure you have one or two people in your troupe that have to skip work.
I got people lining up sitters for the kids for the weekend. Family picking up kids. Because we're not. Some of us are really young in our early 20s, but a lot of us aren't. We're 20s, 30s, and 40s. Because I believe in adults. I think adults are actually funnier because we've had life experience and a little bit of smarts behind the ears. But yes, so please help us, and just thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hollie. I know y'all are going to be amazing in Chicago, and I greatly appreciate you talking to us, and I wish you the best of luck with Luna and Rozzy and your husband too.
Thank you. He's a great guy, and I'm just honored that you guys, have me on. I really appreciate it. I really do.
We appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Please join me at lisalandry.com and come back for next Womaness Wednesday. Hey, Ari. Love you.